I said, God, give me a warning. Please take me for the morning so I leave more disappointments than I ever.
Welcome to First and 15, the only podcast that's trying to get you paid. I'm here with two-time FFPC champ AB. Alongside him is my guy, Dio the Machine. Guys, we did our Listener League draft number 2 last week. A lot of fun. Probably had a little bit too much to drink during the entire pod, but it was a lot of fun. How do you guys feel about
drinking during the pod?
I wasn't.
Oh, I was. But you drank before the pod.
That makes a lot of sense.
I did. You're right.
But no, fun experiment because, you know, like this is our first year doing it. This is our second draft this season. Dio did a lot of the lead work behind the scenes.
Shout out. Dio made it happen.
Yeah, so appreciate that. But guys, how do you guys feel about your teams and how that came about? Let's look at it for a second. Just tell me what you think. Like, obviously, Dio, you were in a 4th spot. AB, you were in slot 6.
Yeah.
Pick 6. How do you guys feel about your teams right now?
Man, I feel like I dominated, to be quite honest. Not even joking. I mean, I feel like I just got everybody that like I was hoping that was going to fall to me. I mean, the only thing that maybe I would have done a little differently is, I don't have a lot of Nico right now, so I really did want to make, a push for Nico. I considered, just going Mark Andrews there, trying to lock in that high end tight end. Would have loved for Devin Achane, fall to me in the 3rd round. Deo proclaimed best RB ever, GOAT status. But no, all in all, like started off with kind of like a 0 RB build. Love the running backs that I was able to acquire between rounds 5 and 8. We'll see what happens with Njoku. He's kind of in that gray zone as far as, can he repeat, from last year? And then y'all know I love me some late round Joe Burrow. I just need Chase to sign, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then I really love how I finished the draft as well. I mean, got some nice handcuffs, got some younger wide receivers with upside. And then really kind of filled out that tight end position, try and make sure that I hopefully have someone who hits.
Yeah. You took 5 tight ends?
5 tight ends.
Yeah, it makes them easy to drop too.
I'm picking up 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah. 5 tight ends. That's crazy.
I know. It sucks you can't trade in these leagues.
I'm just gonna sit on the sideline, closely monitoring.
So, Dio, like just looking at your team, you sort of went Devin Achane, but then your second running back is Raheem Mostert. Now, I'm old enough to remember you talking about, like how you like to build out your starting roster with those first, 8 to 9 rounds. Do you envision starting Achane and Mostert?
Yes, I do. I'm going to start.
That's cap.
That's cap at all. What are you talking about? Like,
I can see it. I
think both of those players are great value. Devon Achane is going 2nd round right now. Got him in 3rd. He's going to probably smash. They're talking about he's getting receiver reps probably, you know what I'm saying, which means going to increase his PPR opportunity. And you're talking about the guy that scored the most touchdowns in running last year. I think he broke a record in Mostert. I've seen him go in the 6th, 7th round. I got him in the 8th. They're both going to be used. Talking about an offense that runs the ball probably more than anybody else in the league. Yeah. With a coach that's very, very creative with how he uses his running backs. And if one of them don't hit, I'm pretty confident one of them will hit, but if both of them don't hit, then I'll supplement it with one of the other running backs I have that, have a mixture of immediate production and like future production on my team. And people that really probably need an injury or two, and maybe even don't need an injury, probably going to be in a good solid timeshare.
Yeah, like Chuba early on should be able to get you.
Right. You know what I'm saying? And I'm definitely somebody that's very active on the waiver wire. Yeah. I'm always looking for people to fill roles. The biggest thing I want to do is I want to just have something strong on my team. I decided that was going to be my wide receiver. I don't have too much Kyler. I did have a little bit of Kyler early in the draft season when he was going really late, but he's starting to kind of go up a little bit sooner. So I wasn't expecting taking him, but when I saw the opportunity to match him with Marvin Harrison, who I also feel like I got pretty late compared to where I've seen him in
Yeah.
the past. You know, I was like, okay, let's do it. You know, I think the way I built my team, I was focusing more on trying to win a tournament, right? Like I wasn't concerned about what everybody else in the draft was doing.
Right.
I wasn't really worried about winning the league. I was just worried about what can I do to get myself to win a race at the end of the season.
I think Raheem Mostert falling to you in the 8th. I mean, I think at that point, given kind of what's on the board, you probably that's just probably the best pick. I would not have wanted to do it, but I probably would have done it as well.
Yeah.
Because you know, ultimately, in the most ideal scenario, your upside is going to be capped.
Right.
But Raheem Mostert in the 8th round when you really only got one RB rostered.
Yeah.
But I do I love the wide receivers that you were able to get where you were able to get them.
If I'm in a pinch, Chuba can be in my starting lineup.
Yeah.
If need be.
I constantly find myself in that same position, and I'm probably overweight on Jerome Ford for that reason, because he's typically there around that same time. So I always have, just that one running back that I feel that I can start every week, and then I'm sort of searching for that second running back who can provide.
I'll say this, and I don't feel like I'm weak at running back at all. I'm actually very comfortable with my whole team. I like my team. I wanted my tight end to be a little bit strong because I wanted to take a tight end later. Some of the tight ends Abby took,
right,
who I was targeting. And I was like, what the hell? He took 5 tight ends.
Hey, you took Ty Chandler. You took my.
I'm just saying. So I'm not worried about my running back, my receiver, or quarterback. With my tight end, I'm going to work on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I like my defenses. I think I took Seattle, but I feel like it's going to be a good play for at least the first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the kicker, I'm a big Brandon Aubrey drafted this year.
I saw that.
I think Aubrey is a weapon. Like, I don't think of him as a kicker. I think of him as a weapon, like actual somebody that, like you were saying, if you're trying to draft your starting lineup, I would actually consider drafting him early as part of your starting lineup, because this guy can give you double-digit points every week easily. The Cowboys are getting this guy 60-yard kicks, like it's nothing. So, I like my team, like I said, and I try to again build it to win a tournament, and hopefully I can make that happen.
Yeah, but that's kind of some of the thought process that I had, is that I went in thinking, like, am I trying to just win this league?
You took some of my players, by the way, Chris, because I was looking at it earlier today.
Yeah.
You were telling me you were high on Michael Wilson, and now you take my guy, Greg Dortch.
Yeah. No.
I've been talking up Diami Brown, and I see Chris take Diami Brown.
You took that.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, what's going on here?
Yeah. No. I did. I started off with Bijan because, again, I can envision he's one of the few running backs that I can actually envision finishing RB1. Took Kyron because I think Kyron not only gives you tremendous upside in the passing game, but also I just see him. I'm not buying Blake Corum, like cutting into his carries as much as most people think. But I sort of like my team as well. When I kind of think about, and just to show the board a bit, when I think about that first draft, because, and like, here's the thing that I think most people who are listening can probably agree with, is that drafting out of that one slot and not being a mass drafter, I kind of have to think about like my team a little differently. So in the Football Guys tournament, this is like my own, like the first like draft that we did was my first draft Football Guys. And so I only have 2 bullets in the chamber. So I needed to diversify, and I went heavy receiver in that first draft. And so I said, all right, this time I'm going to go heavy running back and make sure that I at least sort of diversify. And I think most people not named AB and Dio who don't, draft, 20, 30, 50 teams, right? Like they are, thinking about how to position, 1 to probably 5 teams. And that's what I was thinking when building this team. So I did some things that I probably wouldn't normally do. Like I probably wouldn't take Jake Ferguson in the 4th round. But I wanted to get a high-end tight end. Tight ends were kind of coming off the board. And I didn't think that, and he's sort of that cutoff mark for me. Well, really, because him and Kittle kind of, like sometimes he goes after Kittle, sometimes he goes before Kittle. But I wanted a high-end tight end.
See, I feel like
I just took him.
if I'm only drafting a couple teams, I'm going to get my guys. I'm not trying to diversify. I'm not trying to switch things up. Like if I'm only drafting like, a handful of teams, like all those teams are probably going to look alike, look a lot alike, Yeah, I think
What's the
you
value
should.
in that though?
So what?
I think
what do you mean what's the
biggest thing
value
you
in
have
that?
to figure out
Is you only got a handful of teams. Like get your guys.
Right, but
So
like
now you
why
got
would
two
I
different. You got two different teams. One team you're like, I just got to switch it up because I did this the other time. But like, if you don't like have conviction in those guys, like if those aren't your guys and you don't think they're gonna succeed, why draft a team that that's just like going against your gut feeling if you only got two teams?
No. It's not necessarily going against my gut feeling. It's just that like I want to go in with an open mind about like the type of construction that I have. Like I think going, like 2 high-end running backs is dramatically different than my last draft, to where I think the first 4 rounds I took receiver. And so like I just think there's more than one way to skin a cat. And so I want to make sure that I give myself at least an opportunity to have one of those teams make the tournament.
I get what you're saying. I still disagree because you could have had that same approach and they could have just been 4 completely different wide receivers. Because you don't know which player in this first round is going to kill it. So that's why I feel like.
Yeah, but I like Bijan.
Okay, well, so then that's your guy. Okay, all right.
I think the biggest thing you just have to figure out first off is what are you trying to do? Are you trying to win a tournament or are you trying to win a league? Because I think there's 2 different approaches to it. Because if you're trying to win a tournament, you have to be okay with just having a total bust of a team.
Yeah.
Where it's like this team is just trash because the alternative is you'll have that one team that's, way ahead of the field, ziggling everybody zagging. Like I'm always talking to Dorsey about it with DFS. Dorsey's a big DFS player. He said he's not coming on the show until he wins $1 million. So hopefully, but we always talk about holding hands with other players. By that I mean having similar teams with all these other players. Where if you do hit big, you hit big, but you hit big with other people. So now you're splitting the pot. Or vice versa, if on your own, lone wolf, even if you don't hit big, if you're still ahead of the pack, you still get the money. So
I feel
again, if you got two and you're just like, I just want to win my league, get your guys. But if you're trying to win a tournament, you gotta shoot for value and you gotta shoot for uniqueness while still having a good team. So
yeah. So speaking of like that first team that I drafted, I had Jamar Chase. I took Jamar Chase in the first round. How do you guys feel about having your Jamar Chase teams, knowing that we're going into week 1 and he's not?
Look, I feel like this year is a great year to be able to go into a season with a guy like Jamar Chase, potentially sitting out the first game. Ideally not the second, but because this year, like you can get starters, legit starters. That yes, we're all drafting in the offseason. We're talking about how this guy has low upside or how this guy, is in a bad offense or how this guy is just not exciting and is a boring player. But then guess what? Go look at your favorite rankers, your favorite rankers rankings for week 1. And you're going to see a lot of the boring names in the top 12, top 15. And that's because that first week, like everybody's going to be projected a certain volume for even guys who are on bad teams or guys that you didn't want to draft. Those same guys that were going in rounds 9, 10, Jerome Ford was going in a double-digit round. Singletary was going in a double-digit rounds. Chuba still goes into double-digit rounds. We ultimately don't know what's going to happen, but some of these guys are going to be getting a lot of touches, and some of these guys are going to be falling into the end zone. And then you even got wide receivers that were going late too as well. I don't know how many times we're going to bring up Rashee Rice being a value early in the offseason. I did not understand how he was going so late. But like I think there was one point where his low was like in the double-digit round. So like this is a perfect year where you can like combat that. Even if you were still drafting today, this is a perfect year just because I feel like production is so spread out from team to team. There are very few teams that just have these very, very narrow target trees, and there are so many RBBCs that you'll have options.
Yeah. So speaking specifically on Chase, so here's the thing with Chase, the way I've been seeing, and when you drafted Chase in the first league, I actually questioned about it on our show. Like, are you not worried about the Chase holdout? Right. Even when I think a couple episodes or maybe last week, we thought the Chase issue was, was done. Like he was back in practice. We thought he was back before CD was back or whatever.
Yeah.
But y'all see how that played out. Or how it's playing out now. But here's the thing with Chase. I'm just with news. I'm always just focused on what it does to values. Like, what is it doing to him in drafts? And early draft season, Chase was being taken in the middle of the first, right? If you had conviction on him, maybe you'd take him higher in the first. Yeah. But his typical position was 5 to 7, maybe more like 4 to 6, right?
Yep.
Since this drama has lingered, now I'm starting to see him going middle to early back end of the first, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I'm talking more like 5 to 9, 5 to 10, which is a depression, but it's not a drastic depression. All that did is it took the people that were drafting the back end of the draft now the opportunity to take Chase when before they didn't have that opportunity. Yeah. Right. Because again, what I'm always saying about ADP changes, if it's not a round difference, then it's not a big deal to me. Like if it's not a player where I can say I used to take him here, now I can pass on him. Yeah. And then when my turn comes again the next round, he's still there. Then what are we even doing here, right? Yeah. All we're doing is shifting the guy to another player on the row. Yeah. Now, with that being said, again, Chase is like, okay, whatever. I think the biggest thing that nobody's talking about, and I'm guilty of it, I think this pod is guilty of it, and I'm kind of ashamed, is nobody's talking about T. Higgins. And I think that's extremely problematic because T. Higgins, if he did have number 1 wide receiver status to start the season, he should be a top 3 round pick. You know, even if he didn't, if you think back to last year, we were taking T. Higgins in the round 3 or 4, right? What changed between last year and this year? I think last year he dealt with injuries. Obviously, to start the season, he was threatening to hold out. Remember, ADPs are kind of they haven't changed that much this summer compared to May drafts. In May drafts, he was holding out. I want my franchise. I mean, I don't want to be franchised. And he's being taken in the 5th, 6th. Now he signs his contract. He's practiced the whole camp, and he's still being he's 5th. He's still 5th. He's not much of 4th at all. I don't see.
He's like at the 4 or 5 turn.
4 or 5 turn or 5th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, if he's gonna get the role of number 1 wide receiver for however long he is, he's been practicing. He's looked pretty good. Did. And on top of that,
Chris got a B-. I said that's how you know you did.
I didn't know they gave draft.
I didn't know that either.
But if he's gonna be the main guy, then I think he should be going a lot sooner because and not to mention he's also playing for a contract this year. Yeah. He still is looking for a new deal next year. Yeah. So I think T. Higgins is extremely undervalued. Yeah. And then on top of that, who's going to be the wide receiver 2? To start the season or the draft season, we were really big on Jermaine Burton. Up to this point, we're hearing a lot of Isavis. I don't even know how you say his name.
Ilyasova.
Burton was being taken in the mid-teens, maybe early teens. At one point now, he's in the very back of the draft, sometimes undrafted. Yep. And Isavis is still being taken maybe around 17 or later.
Yeah, and in the running backs too. And the running backs may be a little bit more involved in the passing game. Yeah, as a result too, as well.
So there's a lot to go with that Jamar Chase thing. I think as a fantasy community as a whole has kind of put their head in the sand.
Oh, you know another one too, especially if you like are hurting at tight end, Mike Gesicki. Like maybe they use him a little bit more, or Sample, or I don't know about Sample, but. But you know, maybe they use it.
Right? Man, stop with that starting stuff, man. Stop.
Listen, if he's at the top of the depth chart,
ain't no depth chart, man.
Didn't you send us the depth chart?
Bro, and I said it's no. I said it's the unofficial depth chart.
Oh, was it?
The same thing with preseason. All these depth charts have been unofficial depth chart. What unofficial depth charts are is basically the team, social media team, or somebody putting together.
I got you, but we're going into week 1, and I thought you sent us the
see, read the text message. Pull out your phone. I said it was unofficial. All right, go ahead. Because the reason why I said it was official because the tweet said it was an actual Bengals beat writer. It said that the Bengals have an official depth chart, yada yada, and that's what I put out there.
But the tight end doesn't matter because like their starting tight end may actually just be that's the guy who's in when they got 3 wide receivers.
I just don't think
he's a blocker.
So I don't think the starters have been put out there yet.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what does the starter really mean? The first snap, what if you play one snap, come out the game, and another guy plays? Like, it doesn't really matter. But again, none of the depth, like I've been actually reviewing all the depth charts that have been coming out today. Yeah. Every single one of them say unofficial. Every single one. So
I mean, on the tweet that you sent us, it does say Bengals first official.
Open the tweet of the beat writer's words. Open the actual picture. It says unofficial depth chart.
I know, but when you sent it to us, like you sent it to us, like it was.
Chris, read the text. Literally, I sent that,
you,
and then the next thing I
got you.
said is, "This is not the official depth chart."
All right. Sorry, Drew Sample is not the
No, he's
receiving
trash.
option.
But yeah, so those are just all my thoughts about Chase. I feel like I feel like he has an impact on Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Definitely.
but Burrow's value is actually depressed, so I guess it kind of has played itself out.
So let's talk about Ayuk. He finally signs, gets that out of the way. Is there any fallout to this Ayuk signing?
Because, let's start with the top. Not considering Ayuk, and even the 49ers. George Pickens was, I think, the one that saw the most fluctuation.
Right.
And it has not auto-corrected because I was in a main event last night. And y'all know I'm not high on George Pickens because I do not like Arthur Smith. I do not trust him. I don't care if he's not the head coach. I just don't trust him. Okay. But at some point, a player becomes a value.
So where
I got Pickens in the I think I had the 4th pick of this draft, and I got Pickens in the 6th round.
Okay.
So that's like the that's the mid back in the 6th round. I've ever
seen him go.
Yeah. So at that stage, I was like, all right, well, and Ridley was on the board. I think Ridley was on the board. Christian Kirk was on the board. But at that stage, I was like, even though I have those guys higher ranked, I have tons of those guys. Like you said, I have not seen Pickens go that far that late.
Mm-hmm.
I had to stomach it because as much as I dislike Arthur Smith, there's still definitely a significant chance that Pickens does something this year. And they got nobody else. But I bring it up to say that, even after the Ayuk signing, I guess it just takes a while for the market to correct itself, or, I think
going to correct itself.
Yeah, there's no time to correct itself. But also I think what happens too is that Pickens received a lot of hype early on. People were seeing, we were looking past all the new OC and him being in Pittsburgh and, and them potentially running the ball a lot and their defense. We were looking past all that because he was a talent. And then as soon as the word came out that Ayuk might come to, might join the Steelers, now all the negative stuff started getting piled on. And I think people still have that negative, the negative talk about how this offense may not be much, because it was piled on with all the Ayuk rumors.
I mean, what do you think, though? Do you think it's going to be anything? Because I'm still concerned about the quarterback situation.
I look at him the same way. He's not somebody that I'm probably taking in the 5th round, but in the 6th round, I think there's a
value
chance.
Play at that point.
Yeah, it's a value play at that point.
So for me, do you have anything to say? Because I have a lot to say about it, actually.
Well, just getting back to the George Pickens. You're getting back to the George Pickens. Honestly, I really do kind of view Pickens as Ayuk light. I was never really high on Ayuk just because I've always felt like his ceiling is capped. Can he fit?
Like Pickens is Ayuk light?
Yes. Not
from games, man.
I'm not talking about talent standpoint.
Okay.
I'm talking about from a standpoint of
production.
Yeah, from a standpoint of targets, just targets, just looking at targets and what you can do with targets. Remember, Arthur Smith is about play action. He's about misdirection. When he was with the Titans, he schemed players open. Okay, so there's still a chance that we get this AJ Brown effect, but it's still a low volume. So he's got to be very efficient with those targets, and then whoever's at quarterback needs to be able to actually get him those targets.
Russell Wilson, say his name.
Yeah, Russell Wilson, or even
you have to accept it as Russell Wilson, folks.
Yeah, for right now. But with Ayuk, not only you got to deal with other elite targets, which Pickens doesn't have to do, it's still a very narrow target tree. So Ayuk now is being raised back up to the back end of the 3rd, early 4th round, and Pickens' value has not increased at all. So I'll let you speak on the rest of the.
No, so for me, I'm looking at all the ancillary stuff. But yes,
so just to give you a stat check, I mean, I think it's actually a prescient statement. Brandon Ayuk, 105 targets last season. George Pickens looks like he had 106 targets last season.
Telling you, this is
right there.
A tangent. But things like that are if you just watch, because we watch the games, and that's not saying, oh, we watch the game. It's just, I just love watching games. So anytime stats come out, this player is the most explosive, or this player had the most targets. In my mind, I'm like, duh, because that's literally what I just watched. That's exact. I'm not surprised by that at all.
Yeah.
No, so the IU situation, I've been looking at things that didn't happen. and all the stuff that's come out after the fact, where people don't have any reason to be, lie or make up stories. Like, if these have kind of been corroborated to some extent. The first thing is the offer that the Browns made to the Niners.
Yeah.
The Browns apparently offered picks, but Amari Cooper in their deal, which means their vision was to replace Cooper with Ayuk, which means they're not really, and again, this is probably more of a dynasty mindset of what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But they're not married to Cooper like that, the way I probably would have assumed beforehand, because I think they just revised Cooper's contract.
Yeah, extended
gave him a little extension. And they were already willing to deal him out. And Ayuk, the day that came out, the news came out, Ayuk actually put a post out. I don't know if it was Instagram or Twitter. It's one of those social medias where he was like, he wouldn't even have minded, or I wouldn't have minded. That's what he said. As if going to the Niners, I wouldn't even been tripping about it, which is kind of interesting. And another thing is, we heard that the 49ers were willing to move off of Ayuk and trade him to the Steelers, but they also wanted to have another deal in place where they traded with the Broncos for Cortland Sutton. So that's telling me they wanted to replace Ayuk with Sutton. And the Broncos, I think they offered a third, and the Broncos said no thanks. Which means the Broncos are probably a lot more married to Sutton than I originally thought.
Or they don't want to pay Ayuk.
No, it wasn't gonna be. No, he's gonna be trade. It was gonna be a 3-team trade. They were gonna trade Ayuk to the Steelers. And then trade with the Broncos for Sutton. Basically making Sutton the Ayuk replacement.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that sounds to me that the 49ers are really trying to get a big body down the field.
That's another thing. And that's another thing to take away. They wanted a possession, big body, can get a little bit more further down the field. Because that's not Debo's game like that. So it just, it was interesting, all that stuff that came out. At the end of the day, like, it's funny how off-season stories play out, right? Because if you just hibernated in May, like just went to sleep and just say, I'll be back when summer's over. And then you woke up, September 3rd or something. Yeah. And then you're like, all right, everybody's good. Let's go. Ayuk is still there. Jefferson's still there. All these players are still there. Let's go. No problem. While we literally have gone through the ups and downs all summer long. Like, are they going to be there another night? Everybody's mad, arguing, going through all these different scenarios, and now we're just back to the same place we started at. Right. Not to mention Trent Williams. We were concerned about Kittle maybe having to stay in more to block. Because they didn't have Williams, or C-Mac wouldn't have the role. Because obviously Trent Williams probably wouldn't block as much, or also C-Mac was hurt, who actually returned to practice today. That's another thing. We discount all these players that were concerned about their injury, but then at the end of the day, they end up playing week 1. So then you look back and you're like, what were we scared about? Or why did their value even depress in the first place? So it's just always funny to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's true. What C-Mac, we thought was going to be held out. Well, I mean, I guess technically he was held out.
He was held out, but he had it wasn't.
Is he back in practice today?
Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't for certain he was going to play.
Waddle and
Jalen Waddle, Tyreek.
Right.
I thought
DeAndre Hopkins might play.
DeAndre Hopkins.
I'm a gambler. Unless I really dislike the player, I'm a gambler. If there's like an injury news in the offseason and their value gets depressed, I'm just gonna buy. I'm just gonna gamble. I'm just gonna gamble that they're gonna get healthy.
If they're not gonna miss like a major of the portion of the season, what is the big concern, right? Like the good thing about week 1 in the NFL is everybody, let me not say everybody, but most people to some extent are healthy. So even if you have a starter that's down, you probably have a bench full of players that you can put in their spot. Like your team isn't riddled with injuries where you have nobody you can replace, so you have to drop certain guys to replace the guys. So if I have to weather the storm for just 1 week, week 1, I'm cool with that. And then give me back that great talent that I got at a discount for week 2 or week 3. And again, for me, it's all about that tournament anyway. So let me have that firepower.
Speaking of firepower, let's talk about Taysom Hill for a second. It looks like Taysom Hill has been officially designated as a tight end.
No, not official.
It's not happening. That's like
you just told me that it was.
And that's why I put on wax. That's what I said. It's not official.
So look, you may say it's not official. I don't care if it's official or unofficial. All I care about are the ramifications and what fantasy sites in our fantasy leagues are going to do from a designation standpoint. What do they look at? Look at, because last year FFPC used the unofficial.
They use the official. On the official, he's always been quarterback, just like he is now.
He's not a quarterback on the official right
On
now.
the Saints official roster, he's listed as a quarterback.
That's because they haven't changed it from last year.
But last year, he's always. What I'm saying is they've never not had a list as quarterback. Now the unofficial depth chart, which I just had a rant about, they put him as a tight end, but again, it's unofficial.
Okay, but there's still the potential.
No, okay, there's potential of anything, right?
Well, but look, there's more potential because this is not the same offensive coordinator that really wanted to use him as a quarterback.
Of course, there's always potential. What I'm saying is, and really they only have one day to do it because once the season starts, they're not going to change his position. The Saints themselves still list him as a quarterback. So as long as he's listed as a quarterback with the Saints roster, he's going to be listed as a quarterback.
But we don't know that because if you're saying that they have not updated their ranking, they don't have their 2024 depth chart. We don't know that.
We don't know that. I just said that they have to do it by tomorrow. So if they don't do it by tomorrow, then he's going to be stuck at the position he's at all season long. They're not going to, and I'm assuming this, but I would assume they're not going to change his position in season. I would feel like once the season starts, his position is locked in. Now, don't quote me on that, but
I think they said that last year though, that it's what the designation is going into week one.
Exactly. And I emailed FFPC and asked them specifically as well. They said the same thing. Whatever he is on the depth chart going into week one, that's what he's going to be
listed as a quarterback. So everything that came out today, everybody got in a tizzy about the whole change to tight end position, but the only thing that came from was the unofficial roster. Right. And that roster, because it's not official, FFPC is not going to do anything about it.
I can tell you what, I'm going to be adding Taysom Hill in the event that he does get tight end eligibility or is listed as a tight end, especially in like an FFPC format.
So let's play it out, right? Let's play it out. Okay, so there's going to be waivers on Wednesday, right?
Mm-hmm.
The first game is Thursday.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're going to add him, you're going to have to add him tomorrow, the first waiver run.
Absolutely.
Okay. If the waiver run happens, because most likely it's still going to be listed as a quarterback unless they change it tomorrow during the day. If the waiver run happens and then the game occurs the next day and they haven't changed it yet, then you know at that point it's done. They're most likely not going to, like, he's stuck.
Right.
So your waiver ad for Taysom Hill is a gamble on within 24 hours.
Yeah,
they're going to change his roster designation.
Pretty much.
And, I mean, it's a worthwhile gamble to some extent. But I just want you to be careful with the amount of fab money you use because you can waste it really quickly.
Yeah, especially on a guy like.
Oh yeah. No, I wouldn't. This is. I mean, because this is. There's a couple different things. So one is like, okay, yes, I would love to just have him on my team in the event that he is there. You know, like so because. I even put it in the group. I even put this very thing in the group chat like about a week ago, you know, as far as like, hey, you know, will FFPC change his tight end designation if he's listed as a tight end or change his designation to tight end if he's listed as a tight end on the depth chart?
The answer is yes.
Yeah. And I had emailed them and they had said very much the same thing. So I emailed them again today. Shout out to FFPC support because they will email you back. And they are very, very good about it. This says, thank you for the email. We use the official NFL website and the Saints official depth chart to determine Hill's position
depth chart. Thank you, FFPC.
eligibility. He is listed as a quarterback there and on the FFP site. It is now week 1 of the NFL season. Waivers run tomorrow evening and the season kicks off within 48 hours. We have no announcement related to any changes for Taysom Hill's position.
Man, let him breathe.
They told you all of this stuff already, and you still have me say all that?
No, I literally just emailed them tonight. I literally they literally just responded this night. But what I'm saying is, like you said, again, what if they change it tomorrow? Yeah. When do they have to come out with their designation? Is the question.
See, that's the question I have. I don't know when teams have to put out.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a rule
depth chart
like X amount of days before the game.
I don't know, man. Like, what if they don't have to put one official at all? Because the thing about it is, and the reason why I spoke on this because I saw somebody else actually reach out to FFPC today as well.
And they said the same thing.
And they said a similar thing. They said that on the website, Taysom Hill is listed as a quarterback, right? Yes. And it had me thinking, right? Like, what if teams don't actually have to put out an official depth chart? What if they're just like, you'll see it when it happens?
Yeah.
You know, and then that's how we find out who starters are. I don't know how it's gonna play out. It's kind of fascinating because you have to make a decision now. Because I looked at all my teams, all my leagues, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you an exact number, right? But like 95% of my leagues, Taysom is on waiver wire.
Oh,
I know
yeah.
exactly.
The vast majority.
So that means
exactly.
everybody has some because if, put it like this, for me personally, right?
Yeah.
If Taysom was converted to a tight end right now, he's not the number one waiver ad.
That's what I'm saying.
Number one easily.
That's what I'm saying. So
by far,
for someone who like has like a ton of Elijah Mitchell, that's the easiest, like, you know.
But at the same time, if it doesn't happen, then it becomes a waste because I'm not going to want to hold a
yeah. But I
Taysom.
mean, I'm not gonna list all the guys I got. I mean, yeah, I'll list all the guys I got. Who like some of the high name guys are obviously like Jordan Mason because he wasn't being drafted early.
Wait, you about to get waiver?
If I don't get him this waiver run, like, then, you know,
bro, we still got Sunday.
Nobody. I mean, shit. If Jordan Mason is on your waiver Sunday, you deserve to lose him. Okay, you don't get him on the first waiver run, you deserve to lose him. Jordan Mason. Who else I got? Zach Ertz.
Bro, wait, we're not doing this, man. We're not doing this, man. Because you about to say a player.
This is not going. This is not going out before Wednesday.
Let me say this.
Probably going out
Since
before
Wednesday.
It's already going out before Wednesday.
Look, I'm gonna say this. Oh, we're going out before the oh, I can't.
We can delay. We can delay. I mean, those are obvious ones. It's not like, you know, we can give out all the secrets.
No, I'm gonna say it.
Good.
I can't say it.
You the one that said unload the clip.
Right.
I'm gonna get one player. One player specifically for FFPC, I feel like we're sleeping on as a whole pretty badly. It's a first look guy.
Okay.
The backup running back for the Baltimore Ravens.
Justice Hill?
Yes.
You can have him.
Yeah. Okay. But let me say this. And y'all always respond like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I feel like
we do.
Well, I respond like that because I saw what happened when he like was given the job last year.
So let me play it out. Let me land the plane, I guess is what they say. If you think back to June, early June, Coach Harbaugh came out and said he liked Justice Hill, he liked his game, his talent, and he sees him as a starter. And he's pretty much like a starter for this team. Remember, he said that.
And then he went out.
Listen, let me finish.
All right.
On top of that, the running back room for the Ravens is number one, Derrick Henry, presumably, because we don't know the official depth charts know that.
Right.
Running back two, Justice Hill. And running back three is most likely going to be Rasheen Ali, who's a rookie who probably wasn't even going to make the team. Only reason he probably made the team is because Owen Wright, the other rookie, undrafted, broke his foot in their last preseason game.
Damn.
Those are the only three running backs on their roster.
Yeah.
So if you tell me Derrick Henry gets hurt, and remember, he's a first look player, so you don't have to put Justice Hill in your lineup.
Yeah.
You know, if Derrick Henry gets hurt at any point in this season, because Keaton Mitchell, remember, still on PUP, the guy that's going to be the number one waiver wire ad that week is going to be Justice Hill.
And you know who's going to get the first carry of the game?
Who, Owen Wright? I mean,
No.
Rasheen Ali?
No.
Who?
Kenyon Drake. Or some other random dude that they pick up off the waiver. Because that's literally what the Ravens do.
I thought
That's literally what they do.
But again,
They retired until he unretired.
you're ignoring the fact that the coach literally said he sees him as a starter.
But if he saw him as a starter, then why did last year he never really got the
He
full
didn't
run?
say he saw him as a starter last year. I'm saying right now he's saying he sees him as a
So
starter.
he just decided that Justice
Well,
Hill.
I care about what.
starter.
So you don't think players can get better on teams and improve
Not
over
at this
time?
age.
What? Okay.
Justice Hill is young. Justice Hill is like in his third or fourth year.
Yeah, but he's
I'm not-
still like
Wait.
No,
We're
I
talking
don't-
about Rico Dowdle this year, who is
I'm not talking about Rico Dowdle.
Undrafted free
That's not
agent
me. I'm
who's
not
going
talking
into
about
his
Rico
third or fourth
and
year.
I don't think he gets better. Like he is
going
what he
into his
is.
third or fourth year, and everybody drafted him like he's like the superstar running back for the Cowboys. And I'm talking about a guy that we know is going to be the backup running back for one of the most
I
run-heavy
don't think
teams.
he's
Okay,
better
again,
than what he was.
I'm not talking up any of those guys, but this is what I'm saying. I'm not saying that he can't. Could this be the year where Justice Hill breaks out? It could be.
He puts it.
Remember,
all
I was the one that was
I mean, I'm not
like
saying
pushing to
draft
Adam.
Justice Hill like in round 12.
No.
but
I know that.
Justice Hill's a waiver wire.
This is more of a global point though. On two fronts. One is like in these situations where again, we talked about this all the time. Like we overestimate or we are overly confident of who we think the handcuff is or the handcuff situation in general.
Right.
Because a lot of these teams, what happens, i.e., and again, I'm not saying it's going to happen again this year for Jerome Ford, but we saw what happened last year.
Right.
We were very, very confident Jerome Ford was the
No, I get your point.
handcuff.
They're probably bring somebody else in.
Yeah.
I get that point.
But my second point was that I'm not discounting what he said, and I'm not saying what he said was irrelevant.
I think that's the biggest thing. What the coach said. But what I had put more weight in is in basically almost a full season where Nick Chubb J.K. Dobbins got hurt, and Gus Edwards was also hurt, and they had Justice Hill, and it was his backfield. I put more weight in what they did with that than we can
what a coach said in the offseason.
We can play that game with a lot of different players, right? We could say the same thing about Rico Dowdle. What did he do last year? He was there. With Pollard having a bad season.
Yeah, but Rico never got the.
We can say that Pollard had a bad season. Dowdle really wasn't getting much burn. We can say that with just Joe Mixon and Chase Brown. How Chase Brown he barely got any opportunity. Just Joe Mixon had that great of a season, and he didn't do much. Like y'all.
No, I disagree.
Y'all acting the players can't, number one, improve, get better in the season, or just actually kind of start to figure it out.
I disagree. So Rico Dowdle, I'm using that exact same thought process, which is why, I'll draft some Rico here or there, but I'm not like, oh, Rico is for sure to go. I'm using that same exact sentiment.
But here's the difference in Rico.
But Chase Brown is different. Chase Brown was a rookie last year and was hurt last year. So in terms of like, could he get better? To me, there's more of a likelihood that a rookie or somebody that, was a rookie and got injured is more likely to get better or more likely to have the game slow down for him than a guy who's been in the league for 4 years.
And here's the difference between
like Justin Hill's like an old player, man.
No.
Justin Hill came from Oklahoma State like 3 years ago.
They went and you can't tell me that a guy is a starter or like he has starter talent and that we should look at him like a starter when they went out in free agency and got one of the biggest free agents.
2 running backs.
I got you, but
so wait, you act like they weren't going to bring anybody in. The Ravens last year were in talks with the Titans to trade.
That's not bringing anybody in. Bringing Derrick Henry in is not bringing anybody in. Bringing Zeke in is bringing anybody in.
Last year, the Ravens were.
Why does Zeke hate? You always hate Zeke.
The Ravens were in talks with the Titans to trade for Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry himself said last minute they squashed the deal. They lost J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards to free agency, so they already had to bring somebody else in. And on top of that, yes, they brought Henry in, but who else did they bring in? They brought 2 rookies. One of them that they drafted most likely were going to cut. The other one was an undrafted free agent.
They got the only
running backs on the roster.
Free agents on the market to come in.
One dude,
Dowdle, they didn't do that, and they could have, and they chose not to.
We're talking about a guy that, again, I'm not saying draft him like he's a starter. The only reason I mentioned the starter part because I'm trying to say the coach sentiment. The coach likes him. The coach sees him.
I got you.
I agree.
And he's the handcuff.
I agree with you.
I agree with half of that statement. I agree with half of that statement from a standpoint of like Justice Hill is a reason I'm not drafting Derrick Henry because Justice Hill I feel is going to play on third down and he's going to play in hurry up and he's going to have some games where he randomly
has that satellite standalone value.
But this is my thing. I don't like guys like that. To me, the standalone satellite value is irrelevant because I'm not going to like randomly throw you in a lineup one week hoping you give me satellite type points.
Again, remember we started this off our waiver pickup. There's not many other waiver people on your waiver wire that has the type of opportunity that Justice Hill has.
Cam Akers, he got better.
First off, I'll say this: we still are not 100% guarantee that Akers is over.
Oh, absolutely, 100%, 100%.
So that's the first thing.
100%.
The second thing is Mason. The only reason now Mason is most likely going to be the number 1 ad. Because we heard he jumped Elijah Mitchell early, and now Elijah Mitchell's on IR. Right. So now 100%. It's the role, right?
100%.
So Justice Hill is in that same exact role.
He's not.
I just see Justice Hill as a first look guy. I think people should pick him up because he's a first look guy.
Okay.
And
why?
Maybe he scores.
Why? Why would you waste? Why would you waste? That's not a first look guy.
Drafting running back 4s right now.
So let me tell. So say Justice Hill plays all the third down.
You're assuming that they're going to bring somebody else and he's not going to have the role. What if he does have the role?
Let me finish. Let's say you said let's pick him up as a first look guy. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning that we're not expecting Derrick Henry to get hurt on the first week, but we just want to see how they use Justice Hill.
What if Derrick Henry does get hurt?
Okay. But
what if he just scores a touchdown?
What if he scores 2 touchdowns?
Okay. Let's say Derrick Henry does not get hurt. But we're picking up Justice Hill as a first look guy.
No, I'm not saying the reason to pick him up I'm just saying he is a first look guy.
He's a first look guy.
The reason I'm going to pick him up was, again, the first thing I said is the coach sees him as a starter, or starter like, and he's most likely the handcuff. If you can't argue with me, anybody else on that roster is a handcuff to Derrick Henry.
Yeah, but not all handcuffs are equal.
We've had that discussion plenty of times.
Yeah, but I don't think all handcuffs are equal.
Right now all handcuffs are equal.
I disagree with that.
I think all handcuffs are the same.
I disagree with that because certain backfields use one running back, and certain backfields have a handcuff that is likely to see the far majority of that work. And then you have other backfields that have an RBBC, and if somebody gets hurt, that handcuff is just jumping into an RBBC, and do they even see the same amount of work? Maybe. Or you have some backfields where it's like really muddy. You don't even know who the handcuff is, or teams that have a percentage like this. Last year wasn't the first. Last year was not the first year that the Baltimore Ravens brought in another back after their main back got hurt.
The thing about it is they've
done that multiple years.
You don't know any of those answers until it happens. That's the problem. Like you right now, you can make your guess and your assumptions say they might bring this in, they might do this X, Y, and Z, but
it's an educated guess. It's an educated guess.
By the time it happens, it's gonna be too late.
It's an educated guess.
Yeah, maybe.
So we talked about the Ravens. They're playing the Chiefs on opening night, Thursday night game. I know that we've kind of talked about preparing and getting and just having certain hedges and things like that you can do to get a competitive advantage for Thursday night games. For instance, like picking up a guy like Justice Hill, who's
Don't do that.
Are you talking about first look? Talking about first look.
First look, right? Yeah. But there's also some other.
But not everybody has first. That's just more FFPC.
Just FFPC. Yeah. But let's stay with that format. Are there any other types of? I call them hacks because we got a lot of views when we use the term hack in the title. But no,
like, we're about to title all our shows hacks.
Hack. Shoot. I mean, like if you are looking at furniture and stuff like that, and hacks is like all the things.
Man, don't be giving them all the secret sauce.
All right. Are there any other things?
Hack episode.
Right. Are there any other?
What are we talking about? We really unload the clip.
Are there any other rules when it comes to Thursday night games that people who play FFPC should think about? So
FFPC or just people that play fantasy?
Well, specifically FFPC because on I guess just fantasy because
not really. Yeah. FFPC, everything's first look. So, like honestly, with FFPC for me, and Abby, you can talk after I finish this last sentence. But for FFPC, I don't care anything about the Thursday or Friday game. I'm not worried about my roster at all until Sunday because that's when I have to decide my starting lineup. I think for my home leagues and my other regular leagues, redrafts, those are teams I'm more looking closely at because my thing is I don't want to start none of my Thursday, Friday players in the flex. Like they're always saying, don't put your Thursday players in the flex.
Why not? Like explain that a little more.
It just limits it restricts you, right? Like if you Say you got Jamar Chase. No. I'll draw it out. So say you have a roster with 2 running backs, two receivers, and a flex, right? So then you have a running back, then you put him in your flex. And now you have your flex position locked up. And he's your Thursday guy. So now going into Sunday, you have to play 2 running backs and 2 receivers. Like you have to, right? While vice versa, if you take that running back and put him in one of your running back slots, then you can either play 1 running back and 3 receivers or 2 running backs and 2. Like it gives you more flexibility. Yeah. So that's where that comes. I hope I explained that right. I felt like that was a little confusing.
No. But, I get it.
That's the benefit.
It gives you more flexibility by not having those Thursday night
right where you're forced to play a certain position.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just don't overreact. Definitely don't overreact to stats. Don't overreact to big plays because big plays are tough to come by. So somebody has like a 70-yard TD, everybody's gonna be taking victory laps, but like 70-yard TDs are not that common. I think things to look at are like when trying to pick up on are like guys who are getting like a lot of playing time that we didn't like necessarily consider.
Justice Hill.
Justice Hill. Guys who are getting targets, but maybe they necessarily didn't like hit. Where guys are, lining up. Like for instance, the Philly game, like there's been a lot of talking, if you're big on Devontae Smith like I am, if he's a slot guy playing, I don't want to say the CD Lamb role, because you can't they got AJ Brown, so and there's no CD role necessarily there. But if Devontae Smith is mostly in the slot, that really I think increases his potential target share and just like opens things up for him. So if I see a lot of that, but maybe doesn't necessarily correlate to a lot of fantasy points, I think I'm going to use that. And if it's something I feel like, that is pretty strong and that may carry forward, in my home leagues, I may start trying to trade on the low for Devontae Smith, you know? So just like little things like that. I think Zach Ertz was like a very common one last year, you know.
Zach Ertz doesn't play.
Like Zach Ertz,
you're
like
talking about last year.
Yeah. I'm not even for the first look, but just in general, just that first week. Like, I think he had something like 5 or 6 receptions for like 36.
Who does Zach Ertz play for last year?
He had something. He had a lot of receptions for like a low yards.
Early on, then
for a lot of low yardage. So everybody was just like, "Oh, that's just Zach Ertz, this and that." But like, you're in a tight end premium league, and you see somebody get that many targets at tight end. Like,
you're talking about just week 1 in general.
I'm just talking about week 1 in general. Yeah. So really, like, I think a key thing to look at is like guys who are getting a lot of usage, getting a lot of burn, maybe getting a lot of targets, but their fantasy production is very, very low. Go try to acquire those guys, try to pick those guys up, because you never know if that stuff carries forward and if it's real.
So I'll be a little bit more specific, right?
Yeah.
So these first look games, so your Chiefs and Ravens and your Eagles and Packers, what I'm looking for, because especially something like FFPC, the main guys, they're drafted, right? Like it literally doesn't matter what they do this first week, unless they get like injured for the season or like injured for a long time. They're gonna be where they are. Like, teams are going to have them. They're probably going to play them the next week, whatever. The players that this week are going, or these 2 games are going to show me about, is going to be players like Tucker Kraft. You know, like how much of the tight end role does he really have with the Packers? Players like, you know, your Bo Meltons, who probably not going to get much. But these French players that are on your waiver wire, again, Justice Hill, they kind of show you that somebody we didn't have in the draft season, this assumption that they were going to get a lot of usage, while, oh wow, maybe we misread the field, and now we should actually go target these guys on the waiver wire.
What about a guy like Pacheco, who has
Samaje P? We haven't even talked about Samaje P. Ryan.
Right. With bringing in Samaje P. Ryan, everybody's favorite Carson still being there. What about like watching the types of carries and the quality of carries?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Usage. Who are they using in the red zone at the goal line? You know. The Chiefs are already a team that throw a lot down at the goal line. Right. So if they, you know, and if you remember in the past, it wasn't like they brought in this big bruising back at the goal line. You would see Jared McKinnon down there a lot, because they would flare him out, or they would have their running backs run routes. So if you're just, you know, people can shit on or, you know, discount Samaje P. Ryan all they want, but the guy can pass protect.
And he can run. Be probably number 2 waiver wire after Mason.
Yeah, but Mason. And this is more so like because we kind of get this like take lock. So if you were huge on Isaiah Pacheco, like you're probably gonna be the one or one of the ones to, you know, discount it. A signing like Samaje P. Ryan, but Carson Steele, to me too, like I'm very, very much watching that, because watching this dude run, why would you not use him at the goal line? Why would you? Like, I would 100% use him at the goal line instead of Isaiah Pacheco. You know, Isaiah Pacheco need to, you know, schedule an appointment with Dr.
The worst division in this thing.
You know,
but at this point, like, what are you gonna do, right? If you draft Pacheco, you draft him in the 3rd, 4th round. You got to roll with it. You got to like put. He's not put the house on Pacheco and hope you know you don't go broke with it, because
he's not gonna be
nothing you can do at this point, right?
Yeah.
Can we talk about this Ravens receiver room for a second?
Rashad Bateman having a breakout season?
No. Like, what do you think about this Ravens receiver room specifically? Like, I mean, I just don't see it. Like, somebody has to score touchdowns there, though. Like,
what have they done in the past?
They got Zay Flowers. You don't like Zay Flowers?
I mean, do you think Zay Flowers is going to have a breakout season? Because this would be considered a breakout season if he did.
I think Zay Flowers did good last year. He's been drafted with top 6-7 rounds.
Yeah, but I think that's based on potential and what they see and the rest of the receiver room.
But not everybody in the top 6-7 rounds is going to have a breakout. In fact, most of them are not going to have a breakout. Remember, those guys you're drafting there. You're drafting because you feel like they have the potential to have a breakout. Me personally, I'm not a Zay Flowers guy. He's one of the few guys that I have 0% ownership of, just because I'm just not a Zay Flowers guy in this offense. If he was in another offense, I'd definitely be in. But I think it's Mark Andrews. I think it's Isaiah Likely. I think it's Derrick Henry. I think it's Lamar Jackson. maybe sprinkle a little bit of Bateman. And Zay Flowers will get his. I just don't necessarily want to have to deal with the low weeks. I don't want to necessarily have to deal with the weeks where he's off and then trying to guess when to start him. And again, he's kind of one of those guys where I'm just like, man, his ceiling to me is really, really capped. So I'll just rather just do a dart throw on somebody else like a Terry McLaurin who's going in that same round, and just like I feel like he has a higher ceiling to hit, with the low floor. So I just go elsewhere instead of going Zay Flowers.
I ain't targeting Rashad Bateman because he's going super late.
Oh, now you targeting Rashad Bateman?
I've been targeting Rashad Bateman all summer.
Bruh, come on, man.
What are you talking about, Rashad? Me and you were both high on Rashad Bateman 2 years ago because he was a first round pick, and I've never been off Bateman. He just constantly gets hurt, and he still might get hurt. But now, but instead of us drafting him like we were in the past in the 8th, 10th round,
he's
we
free.
thought we were getting back. Now he's free.
Free.
Like he's going like round 16 or later.
He's legit that guy that nobody wants to draft. Be like, I guess first look. Let me check it out.
Has the wide receiver one in the card of potential things that could play out for him on his team.
And everybody talking about him breaking out.
He still has the first round pedigree. He's had great games,
Yeah.
He's also had major duds, but he's shown that he can produce.
List of people who said.
And don't forget, he's a first look player.
Yeah. List of people who said Rashad Bateman is going to have a breakout year. Lamar Jackson, his quarterback. Mark Andrews, who's in that receiving corps. And Jim Harbaugh, their head coach.
I didn't know that.
And the OC, I believe. I mean, you might want to fact check the OC. But those are three significant individuals, who said it. Not to say that it's going to happen.
Saying is they have to find quotes where Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews talked to Justice Hill, and then we good to go.
Why didn't you say that earlier?
I need to do. Let me get back in the lab.
Good luck with that one. He gonna be up all night. I found one, and I know he gonna be up. That's the first thing we're gonna see in the morning when I wake up is the Justice Hill tweet.
All right, guys. Sunday night, Rams, and I want to go through some of these primetime games. Rams at Lions Sunday night. What are we looking for?
Oh, that's about to be a shootout.
Yeah. Wait,
which one? The Rams?
Lions?
Rams at Lions.
I don't know, man.
About to be a shoot.
I don't know, man. That Lions defense is all right.
Don't forget about the narrative. Spill this juice.
Oh yeah, like with the quarterback.
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
Bro,
we already kind of
the Rams beat up. Their defense is beat. The defense is. I mean, I don't know what the defense is.
Shootout, right?
But the Rams O line is beat up. The defense is not existent. Like I feel like the Lions could get up big and then just like run that one out.
Shootout. I see them both going at each other.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. Like I think that Lions defense, especially that defensive line, is pretty good. Like I don't know if they're just gonna.
We're talking about the best offensive line in the league. Like when have the Rams ever struggled to score points? Like what defense is really just shut down the Rams?
They did struggle to score points. It wasn't last year. It was
the year before that they won the Super Bowl.
No, not the year before that. No. The year before that they were like just. They didn't make the playoffs.
No, they made the playoffs, but they were like
no, they didn't make the playoffs. They were absolute trash.
Man.
They had the season before last. A lot of people got hurt. The season before last, but even before a lot of people got hurt. Like if you remember the first couple of games with Matthew Stafford, he was just absolutely getting destroyed. He was getting teed off because their offensive line was just absolute trash, and that's why people were worried coming into this season.
Before they had Puka and Kyron though.
But again, that's before.
They got like legit superstar. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's going off.
That's what I get.
2 years ago, won the line. Won the line 2 years ago. Add 2 fifth round. Huh?
No, what I'm saying.
They had Gibbs and they had Laporta.
But what I'm saying, the reason I'm bringing it up 2 years ago is because their offensive line was in a lot of shambles. So it was very difficult for Matthew Stafford to really like kind of find his guys. Like, so I don't know. But you know,
I see fireworks.
More than likely they're gonna hit that point total.
Yeah.
What's the point total?
No
like
clue.
55 or something?
No clue.
How you going to refer to the point total and not know the point total?
Because he knows it generally, right? Like generally.
It's the same point I made with the stats. Like if I look at the point total, I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
52 would be a good point total though.
I would say 52.
Yeah.
All right, so Monday night, Jets versus 49ers. Anything that you guys
by the way, real quick about the Rams, Lions. Jameer Gibbs says he's playing week 1.
Yeah.
That's another example of a guy
that
his ADP is slightly depressed, but
I don't know if his ADP depressed because of injury though. I think it's depressed because people started to think, you know what, like David Montgomery.
His ADP is back up now.
No, there was a time period where everybody's talking about Jameer Gibbs.
It depressed, and now his ADP is now he's like basically in the first round, isn't it? Back in the first round.
Stephania Bell kind of talked about him, and I feel like that's the reason why it's.
What did she say?
But she's really high on Jameer Gibbs.
Oh, she is.
Yeah. So and a lot of people watch ESPN. So,
thousand.
Yeah. So Jets versus 49ers. That's going to be on Monday night.
That's a game, man.
Yeah, like that's going to be a hell
that
of
is a game. So, oh my God, that for so many obvious reasons, that is a must-watch game.
In New York or San Fran?
I think it's at San Fran. Yeah, it's in San Francisco. Jets at 49ers.
Yeah.
Trent Williams back. Ayuk back.
I want to see this. I want to see this. I want to see
this
Jets defense
game actually.
Yeah, and then Salah. I mean, so obviously Salah returning home. I mean, there's so many like storylines in that game. That's a great primetime game.
Yep, on Monday night.
Man. I'm not ready to say that.
But Sunday night?
I got to see the Jets.
Monday. Sorry. No. Actually,
Sunday night.
That's the Sunday night game. Sorry.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
we have what 3 Monday night games, 2 Monday night games.
Yeah.
I hate when they do that many Monday night games.
Yeah. So that's the Sunday.
That's preseason. Game. How many Monday night games we got?
Not right here. Sunday night. Jank. Oh shit! I got it wrong. My fault. Let me go back. I think it is the Monday night game that I think about. I was looking at old schedule.
Yeah, but like I said,
it's Monday night.
Okay, yeah.
I have to see the Jets as a good team. I'm not saying they're not going to be good. I just want to see how are they good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is it a Brees Hall dominate? Is it an Aaron Rodgers dominate? Is it a mixture of level offense? Is it going to be where the offense is just chugging along slowly, but the defense kind of carries the team? Like, I want to see what their personality is, because I can see a lot of different scenarios.
This sounds so small, but when Aaron Rodgers got hurt and he tore his Achilles last season, he looked at Garrett Wilson and he said, "Sorry, kid." Like, he felt bad that he let Garrett Wilson down, as if like he wanted to have like this magical season with Garrett Wilson. And now that he's back and he's healthy, or presumably healthy, like, I think he's coming back to have that magical season. Like, that's why I believe in Garrett Wilson.
Because he told him, "Sorry, kid."
He felt like bad enough to like. He knew that season was going to be down the road. Like, you don't think that matters? That like you feel like you let somebody down. Like, you've never let somebody down.
That's exactly what I was thinking. That's literally what I thought. Hey, like
sorry, kid.
The bet walking away.
It's Kevin Costner.
Better like next time, kid.
No, but you don't think that matters?
We'll get him next year, kid.
All right. That's it for the pod this week. Please like, rate, subscribe. We're out.